dysentery, and the state of Oregon. They go together. This is a Google Maps version of Oregon, done in the cartoonish style we need to use if we're going to have a map. Almost, but not quite, the dead center of the state of Oregon today. We zoom in. Enhance. Enhance. Avoid the little pop-ups that are trying to sell me something. We go on a road named 20, named near a city called Riley, that also is a junction of 395. Zooming in. Keeping the road within range, we then switch over to our layer of satellite, otherwise known as actually just aerial photos. Again, these are not satellite images. And when we zoom in, again, we must enhance. Gap Beach Wagingter Road. Rimrock Draw is the name of the location. And we go over here and we kill off the coordinates. We zoom in more, and we get a blurry image of this, of course. Now, let's go ahead and look at what that looks like. Again, we're going to zoom out just slightly so we can see the draw over to the left there. This is a hoop of what appears to be sandbags and or rocks. Let's look at it. This is the zoom in version. Let's zoom in a lot. There's the draw to the left, and there's our hoop or path. There's also seems to be an improvised gate, and it's a National Heritage Site because of reasons we're going to discuss in the video. This is what it looks like at ground level at early stages. These appear to be sandbags put up to reduce erosion problems in a dig site and or other. Also using it as a place where you can step and kind of make it kind of a bridging thing so you don't cave in something you're excavating. This is what it looks like later. And we have nets over it to make some shade or whatever and reduce some material falling in that might contaminate the site. And it's gone from being a simple U shape with some complexity in the back to being much more complicated and much more organized of a dig site. Rimrock Draw, Oregon, 15 miles east of Riley, at 43 by about a half by negative 119 by almost 80, or .80. Here we go. Before 2012, if you dug under Rimrock Draw's area, you got sand, dirt, volcanic stones, and few or no animals or teeth or evidence of human life below a certain layer. Below this, you got to the 7,600-year-old Crater Lake Mount Mazama eruption ash line. Below that, you got 12,000 to 11,000-year-old assumed ice-free corridor evidence that may or may not be important, because now we know that below this, you also got a 15,300-year-old Mount Saint Helens eruption ash line, and people would stop digging. But below that, you would get 18,250-year-old C14 dated camelops, or camel tooth enamel. This is from a camel that's much bigger. This is like, you know, the woolly camel kind of thing, the woolly mammoth joke. Below this is where you got stone tools and bison latifrons parts. That means that they were hunting bison. Not just bison, but ridiculously large bison, like monster-sized. This aligns well with oral histories of the region's tribes that have stories about witnessing giant animals, monsters on the land, and geological events they claim to see, like the Missoula floods from 18,000 years ago to 15,000 years ago. And of course, people poo-pooed that because why would these, I'm not going to use the word they would use, why would these ignorant people have these stories? Except that matches, and that always bothered them. They needed signs of human occupation. The oldest human-occupied location on this continent, as of carbon dating and other tests from 2018 to 2023, was in the state of Oregon, near a little town, off of a dirt road, off to the side in a draw, and at Rimrock. And if you dug down X number of feet, doesn't look like very many feet, you would find evidence of an area. It was a wetland at the time and a shelter. in the late Pleistocene, and it was basically a rest stop for prehistoric people on their way to warmer, more habitable areas south during the last glacial period, not after. It didn't wait for the retreat of the glaciers. It happened while they were still in place and or retreating. There's a presumption at one point that there was a pathway between two receding glaciers. That's nice, but this is existing where there wasn't supposed to be one. Then again, there may be evidence there that it was also an area that was open, but this is 18,000 years old, carbon dated. Now, some pages will mention ancient deposits protected in cave systems, but that doesn't mean this was a cave. Articles and comments in comment sections all over the internet have been making me angry because they keep bringing up cave systems, and then we get videos that go on for literally 10 minutes not saying, this is the location. You can just go there. It's right here. There's the coordinates, including that stupid format that's degrees, minutes, and seconds that virtually nobody can type up because we don't have the degree symbol on our keyboards, but I digress. So anyway, yeah, it's on Gap Ranch, Waganator Road, and or off the connection between the Oregon Central Highway, aka Highway 20, and or zooming out, X number of miles away from a town called Riley that also has the junction at 395. Again, 15 miles east, not a big jump in distance. Joink dunk. It's like, go to Riley, go here, turn left, and you'll be at the location, which will be protected, and it's under Bureau of Land Management rules to prevent people from coming in and, deliberately sabotaging the site. I want to point out that certain groups of people do not like not being the firsts. They find out a location has a history before the history they have written, and it compromises their legitimate or illegitimate claim on any area. So there are people out there who not only want to destroy history, they will actively go through and kill people over this kind of thing. Anyway, the population there, this was a spot that was on the ground. It could have been any shape. It could have been the top of a hill or almost a mountain. Could have been anything. This location at the time was a stopping off point that if we zoom in really harsh and measure, so far because of this curvature, was about 16 feet across. 16 feet according to the map. Obviously that's much bigger. That's like 60 or 100 feet almost, maybe. Probably 60 feet. But yeah, there we are. And that's what they've dug up so far. And they have rocks and stuff to deal with that have been deposited later on by possible ice sheets that formed over a very short period of time. It should be noted that during the Ice Age, you would have calving happening from glaciers that would create cracks, crevices, sometimes miles deep. And you'd also have ice just melt away because of a flash flood or whatever. So there would be pathways where you think there wouldn't be. But again, this was during, not after. During the period of time when some parts of North America were completely covered with mile-thick ice. And this is at the edge where it was not really getting down that far. It would have been much thinner, and it would be breaking off and occasionally melting during warmer months that actually existed. Anyway, that's the newest looking picture I could find. I couldn't find any pictures that accurately dated, and now a little bit of a criticism. Stop saying cave. It's not a cave. Again, it's not a cave. Stop using the word cave. Next, the Native American tribes in the area talked about giant animals, monsters on the land. They talked about giant floods. They have histories and oral histories on these things. And I'm not going to read back the commentary that was made about these superstitious groups of people, and they would describe them in various nasty ways. And I'm going to shove this your nose in this. The entirety of science history contains a fantastical, horrifying level of bigotry. I'm not going to use the word racism or whatever ism. It's bigotry. Deciding that you are above others in some way because of some arbitrary thing that does not matter. And that has to stop. The antithesis of fact is ego, arrogance, and pride. Do not let them harm you. And again, the location is not mentioned, pointed out, or given up by a lot of articles on it. Not because they're protecting the location. I don't believe that at all. but because, by the way, it's called a draw because of this river pattern here, this washout area. It's because they keep using the word cave and they find out there's no cave here. No, I'm not kidding. Very few pages, but a couple of pages printed up an argument that said, yeah, people talked about cave systems in the area preserving artifacts, but they never elaborate on it. And they said that that's why that originally had a title that included the word cave. So if you don't type in cave, you're going to have a hard time finding this. This is something I'm extremely aggressively angry at. We should be able to find out about our history without it being, I don't know, almost deliberately sabotaged by keywords like the word cave. So this video will include the word cave in the title without it in quotes, because I'm going to include it even though it's not accurate to this situation and not relevant. Not really. Simply because you might find it if you were trying to find out why people keep talking about a cave in Oregon. Anyway, it's almost dead center of the state of Oregon, and from personal reference here, we don't call it Eastern or Western Oregon at that point. It's Central Oregon. Just call it Central Oregon. And yes, many of the articles keep calling it one or the other, which is really aggravating because that's why we call it Central Oregon. That's literally almost the dead. I'm seriously, it's almost the dead center. Why do that? Anyway, it's older than a bunch of eruptions, some of which you've never heard of. One of which caused Crater Lake. Yeah. So yeah, interesting. So yeah, 18,250 years ago or thereabouts. And every time they dig up something, they're going to carbon date whatever they can and find out it's older. And yes, there's something about DNA evidence. The DNA evidence is based on first confirming this. Next, it's not a fossil. It can't have DNA if it's a fossil. And if they can find DNA, they can find DNA in it only from within something that could not have been intruded upon by any other thing, which is almost impossible in these conditions. So we're going to use the carbon-14 dating only. We do not use the DNA. I'll include, again, the word DNA in this. It'll say cave and DNA just because that's what people keep looking up because you're getting confused by articles that always invoke the word fossil, the word DNA, and so yes, to fight misinformation, I have to include at least the keywords for the misinformation sources. I'm sorry. Anyway, thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with that. And it's at Rimrock Draw that used to be Rimrock Wetland. Long ago and far away. Okay, not too far away. I'm not that far away from this location right now. Bye.